storage. At that time, I think he was a $3.8 billion guy. And we were in Malibu. And you were up there speaking, and you said the most interesting thing. I was sitting right in the front, and you said the difference between liberals and conservatives. You said 5 different things. They're trying to make good and evil be the same, men and women be the same, animal and human beings. All the stuff you remember that?
That's impressive.
I vividly remember that. So you said that, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm going back and I'm doing research. I'm like, what is this? What is he talking about? Because right around that time, my political beliefs as a capitalist was majorly influenced by George Will back in March of '09.
Right.
And you know George Will. And so from there, I got into the
radio. He's made a PragerU video, a few of them.
Yes, he has. That's right. Yes, he has. And so let's go to that. Dennis, you obviously, you look at this room, you got so many books in here. This could be a local library in La Cañada, and people could come and sign out books and start a small side business.
They could.
To fund the YouTube channel. But, you know, if you go back and we look at Dennis at 14 years old, 16 years old, 18 years old, 25 years old, 35 years old, 45 years old, if we look at Dennis, how did Dennis Prager form his opinions to where you are today, and who influenced it?
This will sound boring, except for one item. I have the exact same value system as in high school. And in high school, I wrote, and I still have the diary, the physical diary. I wish I kept the diary the rest of my life, but I didn't. I know what I want to do with my life. I want to influence people to the good. That's all I've ever been interested in. There's so much cruelty and evil on earth, and I want people to be good. But I know that we don't start out good. Human nature isn't good. It's not evil, but it's not good. So how do you make people good, or even just better? That's been my life's work. The one area that I have changed was done by Ronald Reagan. When Ronald Reagan said, government is not the solution, it's the problem. And I realized, oh my God, is that true? Now, nobody denies government has to do some good. It has to put out your fires. It has to hire police. It has to have armed forces. There has to be some degree of regulation. We all acknowledge that. But why would anybody trust a lot of power in people's hands? The United States was founded, and only the United States, on the belief that limited government is a moral value. Without limited government, America is just like every other place, every other. Number two, having been preoccupied with evil, I realized Reagan's comment was right in another way. All the genocides of the 20th century, and there were more genocides in the 20th century than all centuries before that put together, all of them were caused by big government. And nobody talks about that. People say all the time, oh, religion has killed, people have killed more people in the name of God. People have killed more people in the name of secular government than in all the religions. Forget it. There's no comparison. Communism and Nazism killed more people than Christianity by a factor. And I'm not Christian, I'm Jewish. By a factor of 1,000. The whole Spanish Inquisition killed about 6,000 people in 300 years. And it was an evil thing, but 6,000 in 300 years?
Versus 20 million?
Versus 20 million, that's the minimum figure for Stalin. 60 million is the minimal figure for Mao. A third of the Cambodians, 4 million Ukrainians by Stalin in the early 30s in the forced famine. He simply took people's food away. I mean, and it goes on. And of course, the Nazis and the 6 million Jews. So all of them were secular governments. So we'll put the secular aside. That's just to answer the challenge against religion. But it's critical to note that it's big government. You can't slaughter a lot of people without big government. With one exception, the Hutus and Tutsis. That was the one exception.
But let's go back to the question. There's a part of it that I have a hard time believing. You said there's only one thing that for you, you wanted to do good and you wanted to make people better,
right? Yes,
to become better. Right. Fair enough. Right. But you weren't born this way.
I was.
There's no way. So you're telling me
that is my nature, but it is also, you're 100%
no,
right.
I'm not saying
it's
that.
50% environment.
You also made a video that you said you believe kids are born bad, and we have to make them good.
I never said that. Yeah,
basically, we have to make you don't teach a kid manners, respect,
you're 100%
say please, say all this stuff.
It is 50% environment. I was raised with a great value system.
That's what I want to know. So
that is correct.
Who was that? Maybe your parents?
Well, my parents definitely were a factor. There's no question. They talked about ethics a great deal, but I was raised in a religious home, went to religious school, and I took the stuff seriously. When it says, love your neighbor as yourself, I am God, and nobody adds the I am God, they don't remember it's even in the sentence. It's God who says, love your neighbor as yourself, not man, not Moses. It's God ultimately. And in other words, so God wants me to be good. Ooh. I'll give you an example. I believe the 10 Commandments are from God. One of them is honor your father and mother. Like almost everybody, I had a difficult time with my parents when I was younger. But I never, ever disrespected my parents. I never ignored them. The moment I left their house at the age of 20 or 21, from then till the day they died at 96 and 90 respectively, I called them every week of my life, anywhere I was on earth. I honored my parents because I believe God commanded honor your parents. People who think we can have a great world without God are naive.
Okay, again, let's go back to that. So here's my question for you now. I'm curious. Because what I'm trying to solve, what I'm trying to figure out is the following, and maybe I'm curious to know where you're gonna go with this. Dennis Prager is born in a family where his mom and dad are Bill and Hillary Clinton. Okay, it's you who you are, but you're born in that family. Would Dennis today be a very strong liberal and promoting what you're promoting on MSNBC with Rachel Maddow? Or would you still be the Dennis Prager today saying, I'm going to be this conservative, libertarian, or you Republican, whatever maybe, and I'm going to drive these initiatives?
It would be the latter, and I know why.
Really?
Yes.
You really believe that?
There's no doubt in my mind, and I'll tell you why. I believe in what I believe because it's moral and because it's common sense. If liberalism or leftism made common sense, then I would be a liberal or a leftist. And they're not the same, by the way. I spent a great deal of time explaining to liberals that they should fear and fight the left just as much as the right does. And Alan Dershowitz agrees. Alan Dershowitz, prominent Harvard professor of law, said to me on film just a few weeks ago in his home, I am a liberal, and the left is my enemy much more than the right.
Very few are going to say that.
Very few, because they don't have the guts to say it.
But so
liberals are not leftists, but they're not courageous.
But Dennis, this is what I want to challenge you on. And this is what I struggle with. Again, so I sit there. I have a lot of friends on the left, friends on the right, friends in the middle, and friends who could give a shit about politics. Okay? Mm-hmm. I got them all. And I sit down and I see these guys that are Democrats, and I say, this guy is very smart. Okay. And then I look at this guy and I say, oh, this guy is very smart. And I look at this person is very smart. Right. So there's a lot of smart, good people on all spectrum, right? And then I dig a little deeper. And then here's what I figure out when I dig a little deeper. So I have a friend who's African-American. And I say, growing up, who got a hold of you? Who was the person that influenced you the most? And then, he said, well, I read some of Solinsky, and I read some of, Karl Marx, and my professor was a big fan of, all these other guys, and Vidal Gore, and all these things I read. I said, okay, let me ask you a question. What if Thomas Sowell got a hold of you? Oh, Thomas Sowell, I would never follow Thomas Sowell. I said, well, what if Thomas Sowell got a hold of you at a young age? Would you have been different? You didn't grow up with a father figure. So what if Thomas had a hold of you at 14? And so, and by the way, this guy's got a PhD. He's a brilliant, he's a professor, principal, smart guy. And he sits there after a while and says, Pat, honestly, I probably would have been on the other side. So the part I'm trying to get to with this battle that there's going on, right, The part I'm trying to get to with the battle that's going on is we have people that grow up and they say, I want to be anything than whatever my dad was. My dad was Ronald Reagan, but he wasn't around. He was always on the road. I'm Ronnie Reagan. I want to be a liberal. Okay. Hey, my father was a Democrat, and I'm going to be complete opposite. My ex-husband was this. We broke it up. It didn't work out. I'm going to be the complete opposite. So how much of that, the part I'm trying to figure out with you is you said 50-50 was my environment, but you're saying no matter what, even if it wasn't that, you're still going to have the same belief system. How would that have happened? If I'm born in your family, the books I have here are the books, and your influence is going to be mainly on one side.
Right. But it's not because it's one side. If what you're saying is true, then it's pointless to try to influence people morally or politically or socially or economically. If they are what they are because of environment and genes, then that's the end. But I believe that humans have free will. I believe that a certain percentage of humanity hearing a good idea will then challenge themselves. That's why I know, look, we had 600 million views at PragerU last year. Vast numbers, and 65% of them are under 35 years of age.
Fascinating.
It's a big deal. The number of them who say, wow, I never heard that before, that made me think, is very large. There are people who will hear 2 and 2 is 4, but they are emotionally committed to 2 and 2 is 5. I can't change their mind.
But if you're saying that, then what your theory says that one day we can have 90% of the world be on the right.
That's correct. That is correct.
You really believe that?
Yes.
How?
Because I believe in the human ability to think rationally. However, I fully admit that the world composed today, where so much irrationality dominates. You said you had friends on the left who are very smart, and you said something else, very well educated. I think those were the two things. Right. But you didn't say the key word. The smart means nothing. Educated means nothing. Wise is everything. There's no wisdom on the left.
So define wise. Wise is what? Wise is life experience.
Wise is partially life experience. Wise is looking at life and making rational, wise conclusions. For example, it is wiser for a woman in her 20s to look for a husband than to just chase a career. That's wisdom. That's not economics. It's partially economics. Because if you care about human happiness, I have no issue. Woman wants a career, God bless her. I married a lawyer. If a woman wants a career, it's a non-issue to me. But from the point of view of wisdom, since good men don't grow on trees, good careers do. Because you work hard, you'll have a good career. That's the way it works. But to find a good man is easier at 25 than at 45. And I don't know this because I'm a woman. I know this from the thousands of women who have called my radio show in the course of 35 years of doing radio.
But Dennis, you say something like that. So I know Democrats that have been married for 45 years and Republicans that have not. So does that mean the Democrat is wiser than the Republican?
Yes, sometimes they live by value. I'm talking about what they advocate.
No.
I talk advocacy. What they're up, you know what I tell all my liberal Jewish relatives?
What's that?
Preach what you practice.
No,
they live conservative lives and they preach liberal lives. So when you say the tragedy of Black life is lack of fathers, they say, oh, racism, racism, racism. But they all give their kids fathers. The people give their kids fathers, but don't think it's necessary for Black kids to have fathers. That's racism.
So here's what I'm not talking about. So I'm not talking about, so for instance, today we're having a conversation, okay? Paul, Mario, and I were having a conversation before we went with Curtis Stone. Curtis Stone is the celebrity chef. He was on Celebrity Apprentice. He's got all these big restaurants in Beverly Hills and LA. So we're at lunch. We're having a debate over gay and being straight, okay? And how does that come about? I'm not going to get into the details of where this conversation led to, but we're having a conversation over lunch. And I like to kind of process issues like this. So it finally got to a point where Paul made a comment, and then I said, this is where I no longer debate, because if this is what you're going to agree on, I'm not debating anymore. We change the subject. I'm not talking about talking to people that they have to be right at all costs. Yeah, I can't do nothing about those guys, right? I can't sit there having a serious conversation because you have to be right. I'm talking about somebody that says, you know what that is? So I'm in a car, I'm driving. I got two guys sitting behind me. This is when Barack Obama is about to pass Obamacare. Okay. So the wife voted for Barack and the husband voted for Barack, and they both believe we need to have Obamacare. I'm not saying anything about, haven't even brought it up. I say, hey guys, I got a question for you. They said, what's that? I said, I got this family I'm dealing with, and this family makes $35,000 per year. And they said, oh, wow, that's great. And they're thinking about coming up with this additional thing for the family that's going to cost them roughly $20,000 a year. And they're going to go into that. They don't have the money. But everybody in the family has agreed that they should, because maybe they should do it. What do you think about it? I asked the wife. She says, oh, that's a terrible idea. They should never do that. Why would you go into that not having the money? And I said, oh, you know what? I agree with you. I said, then what do you think about it? I asked the husband. And he says, terrible idea. That's not how you handle your finances. I said, by the way, let me tell you how I'm breaking down the math. Our GDP is $3.5 trillion. And this Obamacare is going to cost $1 trillion to $2 trillion. Why the hell are we coming up with a program we don't have the money for while we're in debt $16 trillion at the time? Then they said, shit, this makes sense.
Okay, so you're making my point.
So no, but my
people
point,
who are prepared to hear reason can be influenced.
Yeah. So for me, I also on the other side, I also believe the Socrates point of the moment you think you know everything, you don't know anything, because there's a part of it that I think it's healthy to have a little bit of doubt. Didn't you have a debate with Hitchens one time, and you asked him a very interesting question? You asked him, you said, hey, Chris, myself and Dinesh, we, even though we are strong in our belief, we sometimes doubt.
Right.
And you asked him a brilliant question. You said, do you ever doubt that, your atheism, non-existence of God is wrong? And he said the answer that you knew he was going to say. He answered the answer that you knew he was going to say. He says, no, I try, but no, not at all. He says, now you can tell to the audience that there's a little bit of a level of arrogance here versus us. We're not. We're doubting a little bit. And he does. I think the challenge why on the right, I had this conversation with Charlie Kirk as well. I said, I think the challenge with the right sometimes is the fact that there is a level of, I am right no matter what. That
no.
And you may disagree with me.
I, Dennis, am not right no matter what. Certain ideas are right no matter what. I don't care whether I'm right. I care whether I know what is right. There's a big difference.
Yeah. My
ego is not attached to my opinions. Zero. I am prepared to change my mind in a nanosecond, given I was for minimum wage. I was. Then I saw the data.
What number?
Whatever it was. I don't remember. When I was for it, it was,
okay.
I don't
see. You're not talking about recently. Okay. Yeah.
I was for minimum wage when the New York Times was against it. The New York Times editorialized the right minimum wage is $0.00. But the New York Times has shifted from liberal to left. Now it would never agree with that. People should look that up. I and many others have written about when they advocated. They had an editorial, the right minimum wage, $0.00. More people are unemployed. You don't give an opening work for people who need work habits at a very early time in their life. Nobody lives on minimum wage the rest of their life. If they do, there's something wrong with their work ethic. They should rise. You should become a manager at a McDonald's after a certain number of years. You shouldn't be getting minimum wage. But I finally realized, oh my God, we're putting small businesses out of business because they work at such a small margin of profit. Who's going to hire all of these people? But the left doesn't care because they consider it a victory to have the government give more and more money to people. They think that it's a moral and beautiful thing to do. And I think except in the cases of where people literally cannot work, it is ruining their character and their life. So I changed my mind on it because of the evidence.
Are there a lot more things that can be changed with your mind today?
Yes, anything.
Okay.
You provide me better evidence and I'll change my mind. So, not for capital punishment. If you convince me that we are executing innocent people,
Yeah.
then we have to do a moratorium.
So fair enough. So this is so fair. And by the way, you know, one thing, about me, I was a registered Democrat. I voted Clinton and I voted right. And then I went in the middle and I'm independent, libertarian.
I voted for Jimmy Carter.
You voted for Jimmy Carter?
Yes, then I stopped being a Democrat.
That's why I'm in America. I mean, if there was no Jimmy Carter, I'd still be in Iran. I wouldn't be in America if there wasn't for Jimmy Carter. I'd probably still be in Iran, living there, doing something else with the Shah.
Yeah, but you would be doing well. It would be a much freer country.
To be in Iran than...
the Iran under the Shah,
of course, it
was infinitely morally superior.
No doubt,
economically and socially and
No
politically.
doubt about it. No doubt about it. His son and I had a conversation about it in D.C. the day I was with Ted Cruz. So, okay, fair enough. So let's finalize this topic here. This is my processing, and I'm really I really want to know your answer. Like, honestly, I sincerely want to know your answer on this, and I'm not trying to get one answer or another side. You having met so many different people on both sides. Chris Matthews is not stupid. Okay, Rachel Maddow is not dumb. Elizabeth Warren is not dumb. Now, they may be a little bit sensational.
There are very few dumb people.
That's the point. That
dumb doesn't mean anything. Educated doesn't mean smart doesn't mean. The number of smart people who supported communism is in the millions.
But fair enough, they go to the left, and if you talk about values and principles and all of that, there's a lot on the left.
There's no wisdom on the left. There are a lot of...
say that.
I can say that.
You seriously think there's no wisdom on the left?
I know it. I don't say it. I know it. I lived it. I went to Columbia. My professors were brilliant and had almost no wisdom. They taught me that men and women are basically the same. You can be brilliant and believe that, but you can't be wise and believe that. The difference between men and women is huge.
So you're saying the left is smart, the right is wise?
Yes.
You're really saying that?
Yes, that's exact. No, not the people, the ideas. That's correct. Wisdom is there are wise liberals too, but there is no wisdom on the left. The left is a nihilistic, destructive force in every society it has touched. It has ruined our universities. It has ruined our arts. It has ruined our high schools. Everything. It's ruining football.
I'm not debating that part.
Whatever the left touches, it ruins.
Okay, so let's do this. Just so we are clear.
Hold up, let me put a break in the show. A lot of the Tommy Sotomayor's fan club, they tuning in and then they jumping out because the type of information that they wake up to come to YouTube for is what we call the nigga shit. Now, Tommy is good at the nigga shit. It's an easy topic. Mumble rappers is making millions of dollars off the nigga shit. The nigga shit doesn't require any type of education, any understanding on relevant topics that enhance the quality of life. Tommy can't give you that. So I decided to cold cut this turkey slice by slice. Take my time and walk his punk ass down like I do all the giants on YouTube who try to oppose me. See, the Chinese have a saying that you die by 1,000 paper cuts. Think about it. You've cut your hand on a piece of paper before, opening a letter, some bill you got in the mail you didn't want to open. But it didn't kill you. It healed pretty quickly. But imagine being tied up, hanging by a rope, and I cut you 1,000 times. Woo! Little bitty tears slowly start to wear you out. You start taking deep breaths because you're losing oxygen. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's how I'm gonna knock Tommy off the pedestal. At this point in the show, let me illustrate why I played Dennis Prager. It's relevant to the overall conversation that's being had at this moment because we're in the middle of politics. Interesting enough, if you've been watching Pit Boss for years, you would start to realize that at the end of the day, Pit Boss was pushing all this information against the grain. Let's go back a little bit. For some of our newbies like Annette Blue, she would be new to the Pit Boss channel and she might think that Tommy is my only subject. Well, I came in the game pushing capitalism through Booker T. Washington and the Tuskegee program. I put Booker T ideology versus the classic W.B. Du Bois socialist communist ideology. And it just so happened that the conscious community was heavily socialist, claiming to be black power, while they hold up the socialist black fist of the 1960s Black Panther Party, who also were socialist atheists, welfare recipients that created the Tommy Sotomayors and the mumble rappers. This is the difference between what we do in the conscious community, as I became some sort of member to it when I began to destroy their ideologies. Now, what we were doing over there 5 years ago has bled into modern day politics. So before I break this down, let me play a quick clip about Kamala Harris. Now, real quick, let me mention, Tommy supports Donald Trump, but doesn't have his values. He just likes the fact that it angers the black crackers, hair-hatted hooligans, because they would be absolutely socialist, welfare recipient type of mentality. And most of the black people are Democrats, and they've been slowly integrated into a socialist ideology. A lot of the Democrats like to call it progressive. But if you've been following the Pit Boss channel, you would realize that the word progressive is just another slant word for a socialist. We call it double speak. I could break double speak down for you, Blue, if you never heard of it. You ever heard of double speak, Blue? What up with you, Alex T? You know this is one of them days. Now, I got to break out of here in 15 minutes. I could go live from the truck, but I like this logo pointing at they punk ass. I prefer the logo. Let me read this real quick what Alex T talking about. He says, question, whether or not you believe in socialism, do you believe that African Americans are owed their 40 acres and a mule? That's a pretty good question. I'll deal with it real quick. Let's take the logical approach. We suffered through slavery 400 years. We made the mercantile system super rich. Through the oppression of slavery. Then one day, white folks decided, yo, we can't continue this route. It's time to end slavery. Naturally, if you did a people wrong and you realize you did them wrong, logically you would say, you know, let's give them something. I mean, look how rich we are. And so it's a great argument that they owe you something. It's a great argument. Mind you, Black people in America aren't the first group of people to be dominated by another and land stolen and no compensation given to those who are destroyed. So logically, we could be owed 40 acres if you want to say that's what they settled for. I mean, you can't put a price tag on the oppression that we were delivered. But if we settle for 40 acres and a mule, you could say, yeah, you owe us that. But then white folks looked at the economics of that and decided, well, we don't really want to give them that. So you never got it. So if you ain't gonna go take it back, which you're not, you might as well move on and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, by your own bootstraps. See, I don't recall the people in Black Wall Street waiting on the 40 acres and a mule to get it popping. I don't recall Booker T. Washington waiting on 40 acres and a mule to get it popping. He started with a little bitty church, a little bit of money, and a whole lot of moral center. And that's a better example of how you're going to get out your condition than standing around trying to make the argument that you're owed something that you obviously is not going to get. I mean, if anybody was going to pose that argument, it would have been the first generation out of slavery, not 40 descendants later. They might as well get over it. The faster you get over it, the faster you get to the money. I doubt anybody standing around with $1 million is worried about the 40 acres and a mule. So what were you given? Well, you were given an opportunity to operate at the highest level of human civilization under all your oppression, under all your circumstance. You happen to be in one of the greatest countries, and a lot of people feel like this ain't the greatest country. Well, my nigga, which one is? Let's go over there. Which way should we walk? Should we walk to South Africa and sit under Julius Malema and the socialist EFF and wait for him to take over the government and parcel out 40 acres and a mule? Should we walk down to Mexico to I don't know what the hell kind of government they got going on? Should we mob up there to Canada? Sit up under the Queen of England? How about we all pile up in Jamaica? Eat mangoes in the grill, jumping off the cliff. Where are we going to go? Where is greater? If it's nowhere greater, then you must be in the greatest place on earth. What makes America the greatest place on earth? Well, that's what Dennis Prager was talking about. This is why I played the audio. As he so eloquently explained, it's that constitutional republic that was created, that created limited government. Now the Democrats and the niggerites is trying to remove the limited government so that you could get healthcare reform, so that the government can tell you what flu shot you're going to take this year. And I understand how you're feeling. I'm sick. I need some assistance and I can't afford a heart transplant. Well, damn it. The weak shall perish, but the strong will survive. You should rely on the strong because the weak just gonna cry. And that's what the Democrat Party is, the weak. This is what Tommy is, the weak, because when you got a major platform and you spend all day niggifying it, you weak. When you done been sitting on YouTube for 7 years straight, winning for 7 years, and the only fucking thing I can see is a dirty ass mansion house that you live alone in on your lonely ass world in your gilded cage. Tommy living in a golden gilded cage, lonely, laying in a dirty ass room, walking around an empty ass house he can't seem to afford to furnish. Rented. Damn. Nevertheless, the rent costs as much as a house note. It's still empty. It's still dirty. He only occupied 3 areas in the kitchen, in the entire mansion. I need some water. He got a TV studio room. He got the dirty ass bedroom dirty ass sheets, and the kitchen and the bathroom. The rest of the house is empty and dirty. How can you have a dirty ass empty house? But he finds a way. I'm going to paralyze you Tommy Sotomayor fans. I'm going to paralyze you if you keep tuning in. I'm going to cold cut turkey your motherfucking ass right the fuck up out of here. Because what you're not realizing, I spent my time on YouTube digging in the crates, going through the books, banging on Satanism. And you all are Satanists. I read a comment or a show title. I didn't even watch the bullshit. Tommy, some fan wrote Tommy, it's time for you to deal with the man weave. The man weave. Now I thought to myself, what type of low-level Satan-ass black cracker motherfucker want to hear this shit? Well, it's 2 types of audience that Tommy is entertaining. The first and the most common is the niggas over here in my chat room trying to go ham on me. These old fake ass wannabe thugs for Tommy, and I kick all y'all motherfucking ass. Pull up, run up. Let me show you what I'm working with. I know what y'all say. Pit Boss is a tough guy. You gonna learn, motherfucker, about me. I earned the name the Christian bully around this motherfucker. And I'll earn whatever the fuck name y'all want to bring. I'm with it. I'm with that bullshit. But he got 2 types of fans. The first is the black cracker. If you don't know what a black cracker is, I left the video up. The history of the black cracker. You got to go over there and find out what that exactly is. And that's this low-level nigga who can't stand the Prager video I played earlier because it's too much common sense. It's too much logic. It defies the information they used to. They want to hear about the man weave. They need the giggles and the laughs. That's his core audience. But that's not the biggest of his audience. The rest of the audience is white people who are really not going to comment. They just getting laughs out of watching the niggers. I mean, the niggers are some hell of entertainers. They love watching the niggers. It's just, we entertain really well, as we are limited in ability. But entertainment is not one of our limitations. That's the huge support Tommy gets. They've created this very type of individual forever. Forever in our existence, the white man has been entertained by the niggers. Sambo, on and on. We could go through the list, but y'all know the list. And Tommy is our modern day Sambo, our modern day coon. You can hear him adjust his voice when he's talking to the white folks. I seen him on the show talking to one of the news guys over there at Alex Jones. Here's Tommy. Yes, well, I was just sitting here looking at the situation with my Trump hat on, and I was attacked. So what does the white folks think about Tommy? Here's our coon nigga, and he has on our Make America Great hat, Make America Great Again hat, and he's being attacked by the niggers. Well, Tommy feeds off that. Tommy is going to take the polar opposite position of the black crackers. I tried to send Tommy's video to a couple of people. I said, tell me what you think about this dude. One, they never heard of him. I was like, you never heard of Tommy Sotomayor? He's a big YouTuber. He making a whole lot of money. They called me back and they was like, who the fuck is this nigga? I was like, this Tommy. Isn't he entertaining? They was like, this is the dumbest motherfucker in the world. What the fuck is he talking about? I said, he talking about the man weave. The man weave. What the fuck is the man weave? They was totally fucking confused. But then again, they make $100,000+ a year and they got morals. I said, well, don't worry about it. I'm gonna light his motherfucking ass up. I'm not really interested in YouTube. So I think I don't give a fuck. All my fucking videos gonna have Tommy name in it. I don't give a fuck what I'm talking about. If I come just to tell you, hey, the sky is blue, my title gonna be Tommy is a fucking inside of a gnat's ass. This nigga ain't shit. I'm going in. Now, for some of y'all who just tuning in, like, what the fuck are you going in on him for? You trying to get views? No, this little black cracker punk motherfucker thought that I was a fucking game and he tried to play me. So, I'm the wrong motherfucker to fuck with on some YouTube shit. I'm the wrong one to foot with. Damn, it's time for me to go. I think I got a few more minutes because I really want to get this in. Let me play this Kamala Harris and socialist. I want you to understand this contrast because I'm going to drive this home the next time I go live. I'm going to show y'all the political mentality of a Tommy.
A shining hope for the hard left in the 2020 presidential race. Yes, we are already talking about that. Isn't that fun? We're 2018. We're already in 2020. Oh, MP is shaking her head. It's fine. And she has liberal heart swooning even more after a report that her office, check this out, refused to even accept a courtesy phone call from the White House counsel's office about, of course, the Supreme Court pick. They wanted, of course, to discuss the Kavanaugh appointment. Her office is now denying that exact precise characterization, but regardless, Senator Harris is on a relentless campaign to beef up her left-wing bona fides. And it doesn't hurt that she's reportedly a longtime favorite of former President Obama's. But could she reach Obama-like status with the left? Here to discuss is Congressman Sean Duffy and Austin Dove, an attorney who's run in many of the same legal circles as Senator Harris. Great to have you both on. All right, Kamala Harris, I see her as a likely 2020 frontrunner. I don't think it's going to be Elizabeth Warren. I don't think it's going to be Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden is not going to resurrect the Amtrak Express. That's not. Hillary is not going to be with the Scooby Mobile. That's not going to happen. It's going to be someone like Kamala Harris. Now, Mr. Gov, you know Kamala Harris. What about her versus Barack Obama? Are they of the same epic star-like quality for the Democrats?
Well, other than the fact that it's kind of tried to say just because of their ethnicity is similar in terms of being biracial, they're obviously both from the Democratic Party. They're very strong candidates, but they come from different beginnings and different origins. Kamala's background was steeped in local politics first, then headed the district attorney's office in a very large county in California, in San Francisco area, and then became the state attorney general before becoming a senator. Barack Obama's background was much more grassroots, working with organizations before he came on to the political stride and gained traction as a senator and popularity through his speeches and so on, his connection to the voters. I think in any sense, we want a candidate who resonates with the voters, someone who can connect, someone who has a strong background in policy, in lawmaking, and understanding how to work across the table in different circles. And I think Kamala is that candidate.
Austin. You lost me at work across the table. You were doing really well until you got to that point. And by the way, I raised her as a woman who's a former prosecutor, very strong background in the law as Obama. I don't think it wasn't anything about her ethnicity. It's about the fact that she has. It's about the fact that she has a pedigree and is now trying to push a more left-wing bona fides, much more so than just her days as a prosecutor, which I think, are really interesting. But let's talk about what she said today about Brett Kavanaugh. Didn't sound like she was interested in working across the aisle. Let's watch.
Listen, if you are a young woman in America or you care about a young woman in America, pay close attention to this nomination. Pay close attention, because Kavanaugh has made his purpose clear. It's about government taking on the decision about a woman and what she does with her body, instead of giving that woman and her family and her God the power to make the decision for herself.
Okay, so Brett Kavanaugh is essentially, we're supposed to believe, Sean Duffy, standing at a Planned Parenthood abortion clinic and barring women from going in. That's what the woman who is the 2020, I think, likely presidential contender.
Laura, for set that aside, I mean, I think that Kamala Harris is talking about protecting women's rights. How about protecting a woman when she's in the womb as an infant, someone who's the most vulnerable in any stage of life when they're in the womb? And I know that's not the debate we're having here, but the fact that you're talking about women's rights and not protecting women's rights in the womb is outrageous. That aside, I think, and I think your intro is absolutely correct. When we talk about Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, it's not about race, it's not about their background, it's about who can be radical, who can be a leader of the resist movement, who can be the biggest hater of Donald Trump. Because if you're a Democrat, there's no ideas, there's no policy that you can run on. It's just being a resistor. Not only that, but I think Democrats are so engaged in what's happening right now because if you can't win at the ballot box, if you can't win votes in Congress, you have to look to the courts to have activist judges that will implement your progressive liberal socialist policies for you, because you can't do it in Congress and you can't win the hearts and minds of voters. And so you want to have the activist court initiative, and you also have, who's going to lead the resist movement. And Kamala, I think, fits both of those, or Senator Harris, I should say, fits both of those narratives.
Now, Austin, I remember the comment that Barack Obama made not too long ago about Kamala Harris, and this is why people still today say, of all the people out there, possible people running in 2020, she's probably his favorite. Let's watch.
I'm out in California. We're at a fundraiser. We're having a nice time. I happen to mention that Kamala Harris is the best-looking attorney general in the country. As you might imagine, I got trouble when I got back home. Who knew Eric Holder was so sensitive?
Haha. Well, I thought we weren't supposed to objectify women who are went to prestigious law schools. I'm just teasing. See, I think that kind of humor is fine, but the left, Obama can make those jokes, but conservatives can't. But Austin, what's your thought here? I mean, is she the Kamala Harris, the tough-nosed prosecutor, or is she the Kamala Harris, if you care about women, then you have to stop Brett Kavanaugh? Because to me, the latter is just not going to resonate with Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
Well, I don't think those two are mutually exclusive, nor do I think the fact that being an attractive woman sort of excludes you from being politically adept and capable of being a leader the way Kamala has demonstrated.
No, I'm talking about commenting on it. Do you comment on people's looks, Austin, while you're, I mean, you probably don't, because that's just not, you know,
Well,
most of us in polite circles are told not to talk about that. I actually think it's funny. I think that's where Barack Obama is very charming, but the left never has a sense of humor on that. Conservatives do it, but that's beside the point. The point is Kamala Harris going to resonate with mainstream America, or is she going to stay in the resistance mode, fight Trump all the way?
Well, first of all, her comments about her thoughts about what's happening with women's rights coming up and certain swing decisions that will be taking place coming up, I think it's important for her to establish up front and say, this is where I stand on this. And I think that we're
all right, let me stop this real quick, because y'all probably trying to figure, what the fuck does this have to do with Tommy? Here's what it's got to do. Maybe I'm the only person who realizes this type of shit, but let's see if you can go the depth. First, Tommy is a Trump supporter, but has a Kamala Harris ideology. Let's compare. 1. Kamala Harris is part of the Margaret Sanger abortion unit. That comes from a satanic ideology. This is the same satanic ideology that the comedics have in the conscious community, which also Tommy has that same ideology, which is opposed to Donald Trump's Christian perspective. Now we're going with ideologies, what we call cultural Christians, people who live in Christian culture, which would be anti-abortion. You couldn't be part of America, its Christian cultural roots, and be for abortion, but the Democrats are for abortion. Trump tried to defund Planned Parenthood and got a whole lot of resistance from the lesbians, from the left. Now, this is a complex topic. You're going to have to calm down to really absorb this. And understanding the fraud that we have perpetrated on YouTube in the name of Tommy Sotomayor, or whatever, however you pronounce that bullshit. And you have to understand he's one of the tools. At this particular moment, he's going to be used by the right because he's wearing a Trump hat to ignite and inflame the niggas who desperately want to follow the Democrats. Then you ask black people, what is the problem with blacks? They say, well, we're being oppressed by the white man, white supremacy and racism. Oh, yeah? Are they killing you? Yeah, they're killing us. We have cops shooting us in the streets. Oh, yeah? Well, let's take some factors in real quick. I played a video yesterday, of a white man trying to save black babies from the abortion table. And the statistics say black people are 12% of the 350 million people in America. 350 million plus. That puts us right around 40 to 50 million people. And if you just assume half of us are women, that's 20 million women. And then if you subtract from that the amount of women who can become pregnant, well, let's just say half of that. Another 10 million black women. And then if you subtract from that the women who become pregnant that actually want to abort their children, well, let's just take half of that. 5 million women. And if you subtract how many of those 5 million women will get pregnant this year. Well, let's just say 2 million of them. And when you start to squander down this number, then you go look at the statistics. 2 million women abort their babies annually, just in the Black sector. That's more Black people dying than cops killing you, than gang banging, Black on Black violence, AIDS, common cold, car accidents, all that shit combined. But you gonna vote for the Democrats this year. So surprisingly, the conscious community has morphed into ADOS. And ADOS wants to focus on reparations, some shit you not gonna get. And guess who you gotta depend on to get it? You have to depend on a Democrat to give you any kind of handouts. But if you're gonna take these handouts, you have to abort your babies. You have to make sure that your baby daddy doesn't live in the same house as you do if you want this Section 8. If you want to continue talking on that Obama phone, you need to make less than $12,000 a year. And so it's a prescription for disaster. A lot of comedy in this sector, in this niggified, funkified bullshit. And Tommy is one of the greatest to exacerbate the situation. That's his job, to exacerbate the plight of the Black cracker mentality. This is what he's aimed to do. It's going to be difficult to deal with a cancer when the following is primarily white folks who insist that you exacerbate this subject. So you got Tommy on one hand, Black ADOS on another, same ideology. Tommy is a professed Satanist. He said he doesn't believe in the Bible. You have no other alternative other than to be a Satanist. So when you get down to the grassroots of the ideology, Tommy and ADOS is the same shit. The conscious community is the same shit as ADOS and Tommy. All these motherfuckers is Satanists. All these motherfuckers anti-Trump, except for Tommy, because he cares more about his YouTube views than the cancer that he's causing. It's amazing that the Tommy fans is quiet today. I guess y'all thought that Pit Boss was only just a bunch of hot air huffing and puffing on YouTube. I wake up in different mentalities. I'm trying to energize myself to really come on here and rip Tommy the fuck apart. But it's difficult because I can't get any content out this motherfucker. I mean, I really don't want to rip him for talking about the fucking man weave. That's the lowest form of fucking entertainment. I can't, Sinetta was easy because he was professing Satanism daily. But Tommy is more like just a dumbass nigga on the block. It's hard for me to deal with the dumb on the block. He's self-destructing anyway. I could just leave him alone completely and he'd self-destruct. But slowly, I'm slowly building that show. It's going to be called the Sotomayor effect. When that title come up, that's going to be a real fucking show. I know the title of the show. I just got to wait till the moment I got the energy to do it. But as soon as I feel the energy, you can guarantee 4 hours of me riding on his ass. Easy. But I got to go and listen to this dumbass shit that he does. I understand he going to make money because mumble rap is in. And Tommy is the YouTube version of mumble rap. Motherfucker just talking, but ain't saying a fucking thing. But you can guarantee that Tommy, as the politics go forward, he gonna shine bright because he rolling with Trump, and Trump gonna dominate the scene. That's just gonna make Tommy look all the more better. His candidate winning. While on the other hand, ADOS is gonna be losing as they slowly see the light dim the fuck out when they realize that a Democrat is not going in office, and this will never be a socialist country ever. They'll eventually get back in office, but it's only going because the swamp is filling back up on the Republican side. Long as the swamp was full, Democrats have a chance. But when you drain the swamp, Tommy got to leave with it because the swamp is full of the cancer. The swamp is full of the niggas and the black cracker mentality. I see bitch ass Mitchell Michelle Grant in the room. What's up, punk nigga? Welcome to the show. You've been quiet this whole fucking time trying to figure out what can I fucking say. It's hard to say something when common sense is talking. I would love to do a show where you dumbass niggas could call in. I would drill you motherfuckers. As soon as you speak, I would easily just drill you because you're going to reveal how dumb the fuck you are. I mean, you really got to be a low, pathetic motherfucking mule nut to sit on this motherfucker and defend Tommy. I don't know if you're white or black. And it don't matter if you're black or white. You're going to get roasted in the motherfucking with fire with Tommy tonight. It's just that easy. Tommy going to continue to avoid me like the plague. That's his only option. He's not going to be able to compete intellectually. I'm not coming on this show to be questioned by the inside of a gnat's ass. And he know he don't want to take this drilling. Tommy, continue to avoid me. Continue to act like you ain't watching. I know you're watching. You know you're watching. I know what your fans told you. Avoid him. Don't make him popular. You're just making him popular if you give him any kind of attention. It doesn't matter, Tommy. 1,000 fucking paper clips gonna get rid of you. 1,000 paper cuts is death to a player hater. Don't let me find you.